It seems like there are new cameras and equipment coming out all of the time. It gets increasingly confusing and the FOMO is real. John and I have been preaching for years that the best way to try out new gear is to rent before you buy. There is only one place that we recommend when it comes to renting, and that is our friends over at Lens Rentals. Lens Rentals is the premier source for renting not only camera equipment, but lenses, drones, projectors, and more. Do you have a big project coming up and you really need to wow your couple? Wanting to test out the newest camera before you drop thousands on it? You need Lens Rentals. My favorite thing is that if I love something I rent, I can keep it. They apply a portion of the rental fee to the purchase price, and within a few simple clicks, the gear is mine. So head over to howtofilmweddings.com/lensrentals and use promo code HTFW15 at checkout for 15% off of your order. Lens Rentals, the only place we recommend renting.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the How to Film Weddings podcast. My name is John Bunn and I am joined by my bestest, goodest, beardedest buddy, Mr. Nicholas S. Miller. Nick, hi, how are you?
I am good. I'm really hungry at the moment.
Okay.
It's lunchtime as we're recording.
It is
this.
lunchtime.
But I'm very good. As this episode drops, we were at our Mastermind retreat in Scottsdale, Arizona. We have been anxious about this, excited about this, planning this, putting lots of time and energy and money into it. We are super, super excited to hang out with our Mastermind students
In person.
In
Arizona, in the desert.
In Arizona. It's gonna be incredible. And speaking of Mastermind, John, we made the announcement last week that the wait list for applications is open. If you head over to howtofilmweddings.com/mastermind, go to that website. It'll take you to where you need to jump on that wait list. And John, why do people want to get on the wait list? Why should they want to do that?
How much time do you have? No. It's the most exciting time of the year for me. It's like Super Bowl season. It actually kind of almost is.
It actually is Super Bowl season, but
for us, but with the team. And Nick and I always get back to this. Our mission with How to Film Weddings is to elevate the wedding video industry. And as a whole, like Mastermind is the culmination of everything we do to get people to a point to be ready to elevate their business. It is like, it's the second year that we've done it. Last year we launched it, but in a nutshell, just the quick pitch of what it is. We meet once a week. We have a guest speaker once a month, some of the biggest names in the industry. We have a referral network so you can refer weddings back and forth. We have an online community where you can get to know each other. But this is a year-long thing where you are in the trenches with other filmmakers, growing, learning about branding, business, shooting, editing, film reviews, everything in between. But it's like boot camp for your business for a whole year, just working on your business, in your business, with other people. And then, like Nick said, at the very end of the year, we do a big retreat in person. This year's retreat for the first class is Scottsdale, Arizona. We're picking another location and going there next year. It's huge. But let me tell you this. We're going to be pushing it. We're going to be talking about it a lot. So get ready for it. If you're on the fence about it and you're just like, I don't know, I don't want to miss out, the FOMO might be starting to set in, head over to howtofilmweddings.com/mastermind and get on the wait list. We're going to have an application process where you'll fill out some information. And then we are like literally approving people that we feel like this is a good fit for. And so just take that step, apply, and see what happens. Nick, who is Mastermind for before we get into this episode?
Mastermind is for anyone that is serious about their business, that wants to elevate it. Like in this year's Mastermind, we had a couple people that are literally in their first year of business, but we knew from their applications and talking to them that they were committed. Okay. And then we also have people like Mckenzie, who's on the podcast today, has been doing it for 6 years. We have other people that have been in for 8-9 years doing business. But, it's really for anyone that just wants to commit and elevate their business and grow their business. And so really Mastermind is for you. Again, if you're on the fence, fill out that wait list, and then as soon as applications open here in just a few short days, you can fill that out and you can make that decision if it's for you. If you do join the wait list, we're going to talk about this. We're going to have a little early bird promo for you, only for the wait list people. So you make sure you head over there and sign up for that. That's howtofilmweddings.com/mastermind. John, we've talked a lot about Mastermind. It's a great thing. We're excited about it. It is that time of year. But I think we need to jump into today's episode with Mckenzie Michael of Travel House Films. So we're going to do that right now.
All right. Well, Mckenzie Michael is here with us today. Mckenzie, thanks for being on the show. Why don't you say hello, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I'm Mckenzie, and my brand name is Travel House Films, and I've been doing this since August 2016 officially, and it's been a really cool journey. I love storytelling and filmmaking.
So, August of 16, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of right when I think I was getting started as well. I think so. No. Hashtag old dude. No. Okay. So in August of 2016, what made you say, wedding filmmaking? Yes, this is what I'm going to do. Give us some backstory on how you got to August of 16.
Well, when I was a kid, I was always, running around with a camera and filming my family's vacations and our celebrations. And I would create all of the fun, cool montages on Windows Movie Maker with every effect possible. And so I think that my passion for telling true stories and celebrating people's stories kind of started there. I didn't realize it at the time. Anyway, I went to film school for 4 years in college and then tried all the types of filmmaking and then just narrowed it down to I want to tell true stories. I want to celebrate people's real life moments. And so wedding filmmaking just was perfect for me. So I graduated in 2016 and had no idea what I was doing. So I was I need a mentor. And so I hired Forestry Films, which was my favorite at the time. And so David Reynosa from Forestry Films mentored me in the first year or so of my business. And that's kind of how I got started. But I just had this huge passion for celebrating people's happiest day of their life and celebrating their marriages and giving them something that would last for a really long time so they could keep celebrating their family for many years to come.
Yeah, I think that's a really smart thing that you did when you're just getting started and you're hey, this is what I want to do. Who can I reach out to? Because I think there's, I don't know, people probably are really intimidated by that, especially if you're first getting started. Who can I reach out? Or, they don't have, the financial ability to pay someone, right at that beginning or something like that. And so that was a really big thing for you. And that was about I did a mentorship with David, and it was around that time. It might have been in 2015, but I've learned a lot from him, and we're implementing stuff in our business still, 6 years later, based on the things that he suggested. So, what was that experience like? Whenever you're brand new to filmmaking and you're brand new to weddings, and then you have this, Forestry, which is an incredible, storytellers, filmmakers. Their stuff is just so raw and authentic and all that kind of stuff. How was that experience? Just doing that, really fresh and really new.
Yeah, well, like I said, I really didn't know what I was doing when I started my business. I had no idea how to run a business. I didn't know the logistics of stuff. I didn't know you had to license songs for wedding films. There's so many things I didn't know. And you don't know what you don't know until you start learning from somebody.
Sure.
And so David really took me through the basics and helped me set up a vision for why I wanted to do wedding filmmaking. And I still have the answers to the questions he gave me, why do you want to do this? Why'd you get into it in the first place? How do you want to bless people? That kind of thing. And so having that foundation was so good. And then building a really simple website and getting a cheap logo created, just all those little things were so foundational and so helpful. And just knowing that, knowing that somebody I looked up to kind of had my back was so helpful. And I'm very much a people person. And so just having the affirmation of somebody once in a while, once a month or something, whenever he called me, just to have the affirmation that I was doing well, I was making progress, I was headed in the right direction. It just made me feel confident, yes, I can do this. There was times after mentorship calls with him that I would cry because I was I didn't think I was capable of running my own business. I didn't think I was capable of even making great films. I doubted myself so much, but just having that mentorship gave me so much confidence in the beginning years of my business. So I don't know what I would have done without it.
Yeah. So you have David in your corner, which is incredible. Like what great insight for you to be able to say, I want to start this thing. I want to do this thing. I need somebody that's been there before me, and so you get going in August of 2016, you hire David, you start doing things. What was like the beginning like for you? Like what were you charging? How many were you taking? How'd you even get going with this? Like, how'd you start getting bookings and all that?
Yeah, I didn't really make a whole lot my first year. So I was just getting things, I was charging in the hundreds for my first several weddings, just to like get a portfolio in. And, but I had some like cool first weddings. I mean, I think one of my first weddings was in like the Adirondacks in New York, and I charged $800 just to cover my travels, and brought my brother along, and he was like 15 years old. And so we just like, we're running gun, like we're figuring this out together. It's great. So it was very like, just having fun in the beginning, not worrying so much about how much I was making at the time. So I wasn't worrying a whole lot about that. But then after several months of experimenting, I got to like actually start charging a decent price. It was like $1,500 or something in the beginning. But I remember in 2018, I like got my first like $2,500 wedding, which was the price I was aiming for a while. And I hadn't been able to like hit that for the first year and a half. And so when I got my first booking for like $2,500, I was like, yes, this is amazing. Like I've done something good. I wasn't giving any discounts. It was like the first time someone had said yes without a discount. And it just felt good. So, but yeah, it was, so I feel like it was kind of, I don't know. Sometimes I think of my journey and like, maybe it was slower than other people's, but that was okay. I needed to take the time to learn how to do this.
No, that's great.
And it was just a lot of fun in the beginning. I think that's important, is that as an artist, you're having fun. So
that's really good.
That is good. One thing I want to touch on that I think was key to, your story and, becoming a filmmaker is, one of those things that David asked, was what's your why, and like figuring out, that sort of stuff. And I remember not really thinking about that till I was like 4 or 5 years in, and, it could be one of those things where, we like, my why is I want to make a lot of money. Like, that's okay. Your why can be, I want to create beautiful art. Your why could be, I want to just travel. Like, there's no like right or wrong reason. Right. But whenever you have that why, and you got it really early on, like you were kind of able to. Do you think that maybe that was a little bit why maybe you were a little slower getting going, because you were figuring that stuff out and you were like, okay, my why is, I want to do this for my couples. And so you were like being more selective early on, which would set you up in the long run. Would you kind of say that was a part of that?
Yeah, I think you're saying, but no, you're right. I definitely, having the why in the beginning was so important. And helped me, be more selective with the people that I was working with, or just, it helped me, I guess, connect with the right people, because people already felt like they knew why I was doing what I was doing. And I go back even to the reviews that I had from those first couples that I worked with, and all of them like just talked about like how wonderful it was to work with me, because they really felt like I cared so much about their wedding day. And that was the whole point. I was single at the time, but I still cared so much about the marriages of the people that I was with. And that was always my why. I was caring about the marriages, but not just on the wedding day, but for the long term. And so just having that in mind constantly helped me so much in my storytelling and the way I worked with people, and it helped me attract the right people in the beginning. So I was able to build a pretty solid portfolio just from having a good why in the beginning.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah. And it's fun to watch. Like, so, you're in our mastermind group. I had met you about a year ago, and you could just tell you had your stuff in order when it came to the purpose behind your business. And it takes some time to figure out that purpose sometimes, but your story is a little different in the fact that it's like from the beginning, you were reaching out and getting people to help you find that that has been there. I'm still in a position where like, okay, I'm at this level of running a business and doing this, but this morning I went to a meeting with a mentor of mine that's making hundreds of millions of dollars doing things like he's a mentor of mine, and I'm just asking him questions and how are you doing this? How are you getting to this level? How are you? And by, I could figure this out over the next 30 years, how to do this. Or I could talk to you, have breakfast with you, or pay you to mentor me or whatever, and like really shave off a lot of time. And so one of the things we've been talking about over the last few weeks, as we've had, we're now officially, in Mastermind season. Next year's Mastermind group is coming soon, and we're talking about that as like the power of 1,000 days, and thinking about what can be accomplished if you have purpose for 1,000 days. And so I'm sitting here thinking August of 2016 is kind of when you got going. So somewhere in like the 2019 range is when you were like 1,000 days into your business. And hearing you say that like in 2018 or so, you charged $2,500 for a wedding. I would love to know kind of how many weddings you had done by the time you got to 2,500, just kind of continuing that story a little bit of what all it took to get to that 2,500, and then maybe what happened by the time you hit that 1,000-day mark in 2019. So maybe just a little bit more of that journey that you were on with your business.
Yeah. I'm trying to go back and remember everything I did. I felt like it was a bit of a whirlwind sometimes. 2018 was my first like full year of bookings, which was probably like 15, 16 weddings or something. But all these weddings were like great. And I got to go so many places. I think I went to Yosemite for the first time in 2018. And every wedding I filmed in 2018 was just awesome. It was fun. I was going places. I was also dating my husband's long distance in India, so I was traveling there a lot. So I almost don't even remember everything that I did, but I just know that I was having a lot of fun, and I was finding everything that I could to learn along the way. And I feel like I was a little bit of a kid still. Like I was still like just enjoying the process of making the films, and every little step was just a celebration. To get to 2,500 for a wedding, I feel like it was just baby steps. Learning how to get better at the first calls with my couples, and learning how to sell it well and be authentic and be urgent with the process as well in a good way. And I was just becoming a better businesswoman, I guess, because sales is not like my first skill set. But I worked a lot on it and got really good. I like developed my little script for my phone calls and like got better every time. And it was eventually like, one referral after the other. It was always referrals. Those were the ones that really got me to move up, I think. But it was like one referral after another. There was like, oh, you're actually going to pay me what I'm offering, and not saying, oh, you're out of my budget. So I think it's just baby steps, but like just the consistency of working on my sales skills and just being confident in my packages and my brand. And then after 2018, I mean, it was a unique journey, but because I got married and moved to India for a while and then came back. But that's another story for another day. It's just, I think it's just constant learning and constant, just consistency and choosing to learn, choosing to grow every day with the brand.
Yeah. That's something that, we see because, it's so easy to look at someone else that's been doing it for a few years, we say this time and time again on our podcast, don't compare, our highlight reel to your behind the scenes, like that sort of thing. But what I appreciated, that, you're like, hey, it took, as we talked about the flywheel before on our podcast, like which step was it that got you to where you are today? Was it, that first sales call? Was it the 10th sales call? Was it, the first video, the 15th, what was it? And you're like, I can't tell you. It was all a part of it, right? That got you there. And so I think that consistency and just being consistent over time, taking those little steps, like that is so big in our industry. That is so big, for you and your business, is to, just keep on grinding, keep on going, keep on, doing it. And, now, 5 years later, 6 years later, you're like, hey, I feel, good about my business. I feel good about my brand. I'm always improving it and that sort of stuff. But, I feel like, 2 years ago, me would be so proud of who I am, today when it comes to how I'm running my business, or, the films that I'm working on, or where I'm traveling, or any of that sort of stuff. So I'm really encouraged by the things that you're saying, and you put in the work, and you've what you're doing is great now. So John, I think we should maybe take a little break here for a second. So we're going to go to a break right now, and then we'll be back with Mckenzie and Michael from Travels House Films here in a second.
Nick and I have to tell you about one of our favorite places to upload our wedding films, and that is Love Stories TV. Love Stories TV is one of the best free resources for us wedding filmmakers. The best part is they are bringing the couples to us. All we have to do is upload our films and we are good to go. Upload unlimited wedding films to your completely free business page. Setup is easy and your films can be live in just minutes. Now is the perfect time to start uploading to Love Stories TV. So head on over to howtofilmweddings.com/lovestoriestv to check out all of the details and see how Love Stories TV is giving away $10,000 in cash to wedding filmmakers just like you. That's howtofilmweddings.com/lovestoriestv to start uploading and connecting with the right couples today.
One question that we see wedding filmmakers asking: what is the best site for licensing music? We have one answer: Musicbed. I have been exclusively using Musicbed since 2016, and our films are better because of it. I have been told during consultations that couples love our films because they feel raw, authentic, and that the music wasn't cheesy. Musicbed has a roster of incredibly talented musicians, bands, and composers who pour their hearts into their work, and you can hear the difference. Find the perfect song with Musicbed's intuitive search features like genre, mood, beats per minute, and key, which is probably my favorite of the search parameters. Head over to howtofilmweddings.com/musicbed to do what I did and take your wedding films to the next level. Use promo code HTFW22 at checkout to receive 1 month free with the purchase of any annual subscription. That's howtofilmweddings.com/musicbed.
All right, we are back from break with Mckenzie, Michael, our friend, fellow Mastermind member, just talking about your story. And we were kind of left off in 2019. And I think this is where the story gets a little bit interesting and awesome at the same time. You mentioned it a couple times earlier, but you got married in 2019. You said the word India a couple times. Why don't you just tell us the story of 2019, getting married, all that stuff, however much you want to share.
Yeah. Well, it feels like it's a long story, but I'll keep this part short. It gets complicated. But I met my husband in India because I was doing a video project not related to weddings. I met him in 2017. And so I went to India a lot in 2018 to visit him. We got engaged and all that. And then we got married March 2019. Our family just kind of met in the middle in Sicily, which was super cool. And we got married. And then we moved back to India. Yeah, but it was just a very unique journey to move to India and still be running my business. Everybody's got a unique story, right? This is mine. So I had my brother, because like I said, I trained my little brother who was 15 when he started doing weddings with me. I trained him to kind of represent my brand while I was in India. And he and my friend Ben were like filming all these weddings for me while I was living there. And then they would send me the footage and I would edit the videos, and it worked out for a year or so. And then, 2020 COVID hit and that changed everything. So, my husband's never been to the US, by the way. This is part of the story. We started applying for his visa so that he can move here. Right after we got married, we applied for that. And we're still waiting. It's fun, long process. But September 2020, I needed to move back to the US because my brother and my friend Ben were they needed to move on with their lives. They couldn't keep filming weddings for me. I needed to come back and film all these weddings that had been rescheduled for the fall. So I was like, I'll move back to the US and my husband will be here shortly after, which did not happen. So I was filming weddings. 2020, I'd not been away from my husband for so long at that point. We did about 6 months of long distance. Then I moved. I didn't move. I visited him in India for a couple of months. Then April, moved back to the US again, and been here since. Anyway, I think that this past year has been difficult because of the long distance. It's been one of the hardest seasons of my life. But there's been beauty through the heartache at the same time. So does that kind of answer your question about my story?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, you're running your business and real life is happening. And I think that it's cool to talk about that. You know, it's like you get married, you think things are going to go one way. All the stuff that's happening around the world has caused slowdowns of all the things. And so you have a husband that you've never lived in the same, you lived at the beginning, I think, together, and then you had to come back. And so you're in the middle of that whole debacle still and getting that figured out. So how did you continue growing your brand, your business through this? Like, what's that been like?
Yeah. And I'm sure that you guys can relate in your own seasons. But when you're going through heartache or grief or even just mental health issues and trying to run a business, especially an artistic one, it's really hard to focus. It's really hard to create art and do it joyfully. It's hard, especially it was hard for me to like celebrate other people's weddings and marriages while mine is like almost on hold in a sense. Like I thought that getting married meant I wouldn't have to say goodbye anymore. But that was not the case. But this past year has been there's like so many defining moments for me and my husband where we've grown so much in ways that we could have never grown otherwise. And so like personally, in character, in heart, but also in my business. My husband's been really amazing at keeping me motivated and saying like, hey, life is happening for you, not to you. And you're going to make the most of this season. You're going to steward it well and come out with a greater reward in the end. And so that's kept us going this whole time. So yeah, it's been hard, but it's been rewarding.
Yeah, I can't imagine really, what that, I'm going to be, like next week, whenever we're at a mastermind retreat, like I'm going to be away from my wife and kids for 4 days. And I'm like, at first you're like, yeah, like one day, a couple days, kind of away, from the, but then you're like, oh man, like I miss them. Like I want to be with them and I want to, I'm missing stuff. And that's like 4 days. Right. Mm-hmm. And you're sitting here where you've been like, it's been like 6 months. It's been 8 months, where you haven't been able to like do more than FaceTime with them, or Zoom, with him or whatever. And so, that's a lot. And I know you've shared, in our mastermind group kind of, just going through all of that. And, man, it's encouraging to hear you talk about it though, where you're like, hey, this, life is happening and all that kind of stuff, but I'm gonna, make lemonade out of lemons, I guess, and do the best, do the best that I can with what I've been given. So, I thank you for sharing that and just, that encouragement, to all of our listeners that, sometimes life is not awesome, but you are in control of what you do when life happens to you. And, that was a really good point.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mastermind has been such a gift this past year because I think when I said yes to Mastermind a year ago, it was such a quick decision. Like, yes, I'm just going to do this because this sounds great. But it ended up being such a gift in the sense that like the community was such an encouragement during some of those really hard moments. And I remember like, yeah, just feeling the love so much. The couple times that I got to share a little bit of what I was feeling, going through with the group, and just feeling supported, loved, cared for, people reaching out and just encouraging me. It's been really cool to be a part of a wedding videographer group that cares more about like the people before the business. And I think that's really important.
I love hearing that. And that kind of leads me to, I guess you kind of, got the cat out of the bag, let the cat out of the bag when it comes to like you joined our mastermind group this time last year. Where were you at in were you together with your husband at that point? Were you not? Right? Like, when did you hear about Mastermind? And you said it was a quick yes.
Yeah.
What made it a quick yes? And where were you when all this was happening?
Well, I was in Virginia at home when I heard about Mastermind, and I think it just when I saw it pop up, I was like, if I don't join this, I'm gonna regret it. Like I had severe FOMO as soon as I saw the ad for it.
Okay.
Like I have to do this. I didn't want to miss out on anything because it sounded really fun. I was also feeling a little bit alone in my business, and being a people-driven person, I needed a community. And so I think community was like my number one thing. I was like, I have to be part of this community of artists. And my other thing was like, I just wanted to elevate my business, and I needed an upgrade, and I felt like this was the perfect opportunity to do that. And it really has been. So, but then that was like January last year. And then I think we like started Mastermind either in late January or early February or something. And at that point I flew to India to visit my husband for a couple months. So I started Mastermind from India.
And that's actually worked out okay because it's on the internet. So that was great. What time of the day was like? Were you staying up super late or like
both? I mean, like it would either be like 6 a.m. in the morning or like 10 p.m. at night or something.
Okay. Yeah. You were always on the other side of the. So you said something, and I think this, like when Nick and I were thinking about Mastermind, like we knew that we wanted to create community, and I remember being in that position a few years into my business and just being like, nobody can relate to me in my world. Like I have brothers, I have friends, and I'm just like talking about, I'm in a creative block. I just can't get through this edit. And they're looking at me like, I don't know what that means. I'm an accountant. Like, I don't understand what you're talking about. Or it's just like, my father-in-law is always like, do you have a wedding this weekend? And I'm like, no. And he looks at me like, are you going to survive this week? Like, how are you going to pay your bills this week if you don't have a wedding this weekend? And he just doesn't relate, and it's just like, man, I wish there were people that, were like me that might not live in the same state or country as me, but they're in the same spot that I can do life with and have this community with. And so you see this ad, you say, ooh, I need community. To somebody that's out there in the world listening to the sounds of our voice, how would you describe what Mastermind was or is? Like, how would you describe that community, everything? Like, what would you say it is?
I mean, I would say number one, it has been a community. It still is. And I kind of knew going into Mastermind that this was not just going to be a year-long community. I knew this was probably going to develop into friendships with people around the US and the world that I could always have to reach out to. And so this past year, it really has been that the times where I've gotten somebody to second shoot with me in another state when I'm traveling, or the times when I just needed some advice on something, feedback on a film or audio or color grading, or there's been so many moments where we've been able to support each other, talk to each other about things. And I've learned so much. Sometimes we just would have an after party Zoom thing after our calls and just talk about how to organize your footage before you edit a film, just random stuff. But it's been so encouraging and helpful. And there's been a couple of times where I've reached out to somebody or somebody's reached out to me in a hard moment, just emotionally in personal life. And we've been able to talk and encourage each other. I've built some really cool friendships through this group. So I'd say number one, Mastermind has been just an amazing community. And I'm excited that we get to continue being friends and seeing each other when we're in the same state or something. That's number one. But number two is just like Mastermind has been a huge learning curve. And sometimes you just don't know what you don't know until you go learn it. So there were so many guest speakers or just times where you guys set up a learning experience in a Zoom call that we did. And I got to learn things that I didn't know I needed to know. And then I was like, wow, I definitely needed that advice today. And I would apply it to my business. It's still applying all these things now and will continue. But I feel like I learned so much that I didn't even know I needed to know. And it was so helpful. And like the randomest details were so helpful. Every part of the process was so good.
Yeah, so it's a recommended thing, I guess.
I highly recommend. 10 out of 10. Yeah.
Check.
Nice. As John and I, talk about Mastermind and the things, that we're proud of and the things that we, kind of blew us away. I think that the community aspect is something that we knew could be there, but we didn't, realize how powerful it would be, or, we knew that people's businesses would change, if they would implement, the stuff that we're talking about, or, when we have, Penn Weddings on, or Matt Harris on from Phil Poets, or, explaining, how to color, how to edit, how to tell story, we knew businesses would change, but just seeing everyone interact with each other and seeing, I saw pictures of you, having, Kathleen second shoot with you, or, have Lauren come shoot with you, or, these people that you're like, how do you meet them? Right. If not for this, maybe randomly, but it improved your business, those relationships. Like it was so encouraging. And that's the kind of thing when I look back on them, like we couldn't have asked for a better result from that side of thing. Right. From those relationships. And it's so, fun and going to actually as this episode drops, we're in Scottsdale, Arizona at our retreat, hanging out. And one of the cool things about that I'm really looking forward to is that whenever we've gone to places like Venture or Vision Quest or WPPI, there were like some people we knew, we met there before, but it was like, this is a whole group of people that I have no clue who they are. And so there's that little bit of time of kind of like feeling each other out, getting to know each other. But this is going to be, hey, we've been friends for a year. Like, I don't need to awkwardly ask you what your name is and what's your business and where you're from. We know all that stuff. So just building those relationships is so huge. And, come back to, that community about how you felt, lonely and, your husband's overseas and you're doing this all yourself. Like that's such a big part of doing life, is having people that are with you. And, anything you want to do, anything you want to accomplish in life, it's so much easier to accomplish that thing when you have people that can support you and people that can help you. And I'm really encouraged to hear that in a small part, a big part, whatever, that Mastermind was a part of helping, you build that community. So I just kind of ramble. I don't really have a question. I was just making a statement because John typed in our thing, hey, Nick, say something. So
yeah, 100%. I mean, like the community's been huge. But I also just want to say, like, for anybody listening, like the reason that the community is so good is because of you guys, Nick and John, because you guys have led so well and set the example of like being honest and vulnerable about your own things that you're going through, and the things like, even as you've like hit your own success moment, still being honest about your own struggles and saying like, hey, we're still people, we're all in this together. And so I think the example that you set for the Mastermind group really allowed all of us to come like behind you and say like, hey, we're going to continue in that as well. So I think that you're just continuing to build more leaders in the wedding videographer community all over the world. So it's been a huge blessing.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. That means a lot. And as we are planning next year, it's like, okay, now our current mastermind students are like, well, now what? Where do we go now? What do we do? And so like we're putting together like this mastermind alumni legacy type thing. It's like once you're done with mastermind, you're always part of the mastermind group, the family, the whatever, where it's like these are people that have been through a year of training with others that are like-minded and that are growing their business. You can refer a wedding to somebody in that group. You know that you're going to get referrals. It's right. Not something like you said that's just like, okay, cool, it's January, the year's over, we're done. But it's like, oh, these are friendships that last forever. I was going to ask you this. So your business, I've watched it in the last year. Like when we first you first applied to be in Mastermind, I was like, wow, she has her stuff together. She knows like who she is. She knows what she stands for. I've seen your business grow a lot over the last year. Maybe talk about like kind of as we're coming closer to an end here, just like where your business is at today, maybe what you're charging, what kinds of couples you're working with, how Mastermind or just having mentorship, how that has played into that.
Yeah, I've come so far. I feel like my word for the past year has been just clarity. I think as we continue in our businesses and we start connecting with the community, the wedding videographer community, we start comparing ourselves, and it's easy as an artist to do that. Say, oh, so-and-so is here, so I want to be like them and them and them. And then we start to lose our own artist identity, I guess. And so I feel like I got a lot of clarity on who I am as a filmmaker, as a storyteller. I got to kind of reorient, come back to my roots and say like, okay, who am I and who do I want to be as my brand? And how can I elevate it so that it really feels like me and it feels like something I can continue long-term. I want to be the brand that I would hire if I was getting married to my husband again. And so I feel like I've gotten so much clarity through the whole process of rebuilding. So I think at the beginning of last year, I was probably charging $3,500 or $4,000-ish. Kind of depended on the wedding because some of them were like reschedules from 2020. But I've been trying to like push towards like 5,000 as an average. But I also realized that my brand was not like fully matching the upgrade of the prices. So I've also been working on a rebrand and creating a new website and getting new logos designed and all that. So I'm realizing, I've realized the past year that rebranding was a huge part of also elevating the prices. My work is, I love my work. I think it's fun and I'm always growing in that. But I needed my brand to kind of match that. So that's probably been the biggest thing for me is just like rebranding so that I can elevate my brand and the prices and overall quality. So that's been huge for me.
That's awesome. It's awesome to see it grow, to just see you continue on that journey. You know, it's like, whether it's 1,000 days or 1,500 days or 12, whatever it is, like your journey, it's not like it ends at 1,000 days or anything like that. It's like it continues. And the more time that you spend in something like this, it's like a pressure cooker almost of just like pushing all these great ideas and all this growth into a year. And a lot of people are like, these things are recorded, right? And it's like, yes. And they're going back and watching these trainings again and again. Right. Because the goal with it is we want to, Nick and I set out, we want to elevate the wedding video industry. And we have, and we'll always have the free podcast, and we have free resources on our YouTube channel and, paid resources, and we do mentorships and we have our course. But ultimately, this is the place where Nick and I can be the most effective in people's lives. And it's so fun to see like whenever it was this time last year when we're just releasing it, it's like, oh my goodness, like I hope anybody signs up. And now the confidence of like, oh my goodness, this is crazy what it's blown us all away with what it's done. And as more and more people get on the wait list to join, because the application's open in, I guess, a week from when this drops, it's so encouraging to hear from people and see from you what you're doing and think, oh my goodness, now like I know Mckenzie, and it's not like I'm not going to know her in 2 more months or 3. It's like watching you grow and go, and it is this like family aspect where we're able to not, I think it was last week's mastermind, both Nick and I just got pretty vulnerable about where we are with things. And it was like, we can't do that necessarily in a Facebook group of 12,000, 13,000 people, or in front of a podcast that's getting tens of thousands of downloads a month. Or it's not so this environment has really grown me and Nick as well. And it's just this great machine that is helping everybody elevate together. And it's like, that is why we do what we do. So anyway, all that to be said, it's super cool to watch you, and can't wait to see where you go with your business. Before we sign off today, I just wanted to give you an opportunity. If there's anything you would want to make sure that the community knows, any advice you have for them, anything you'd want to say, and then also where in the heck can we find you?
Let's see, last words.
What are your final words?
Join Mastermind. And let me just say, when I joined Mastermind a year ago, like, I was easily sold, but I was also because of my FOMO, I had to get like the VIP access and everything. And I jumped on that real fast, and it was worth it. So, just a tip. And if you're looking for me on Instagram or anything, you can find me at Travel House Films. And I'm posting a lot of content there and just growing constantly.
Yeah. Well, Mckenzie, thank you so much for, coming on today, sharing, your story and all that stuff, and your experience with Mastermind. We really appreciate it. And we are looking forward to hanging out with you in Scottsdale in just a few days.
Yes. See you soon.
Yeah. See you soon. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, guys.
Mckenzie, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. We appreciate you taking the time. We appreciate you sharing your heart and just kind of the journey that you've been on this year, and also, your honest feedback on Mastermind. And we are so honored and grateful that you were a part of Mastermind and hung out with us over the last year. Again, if you are interested in joining on that wait list and then being the first to be notified, maybe getting that early bird promo that we're going to share with you, head over to howtofilmweddings.com/mastermind. Again, this is something that can drastically change your business. We know it. We have seen it from all of our students this past year. So that's howtofilmweddings.com/mastermind. John, it has been great to hang out with you. And until next time, we will see ya.
See ya.
Are you looking for a better way to deliver your wedding films to your couples? Look no further. Our friends over at WedFlow provide the most flexible video delivery solution on the market. WedFlow is pay per project with no large upfront cost or commitment, and you can cancel anytime. Not only that, WedFlow offers a premium viewing experience for your couples, accessible on mobile, tablet, desktop, as well as their very own suite of TV apps. Each project comes with 10 years hosting and an experience for your clients that will blow them away. Stop delivering your films the old-fashioned way and give your couples something to rave about. Head on over to howtofilmweddings.com/WedFlow to check out WedFlow today.